If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Setting aside the poor grammar, that's a phrase we've all heard and most of us have probably used. But here in the field of demolition and construction, we have a slightly different take on that phrase. If it's broke, don't fix it unless there's money to be made. In short, failure is often more profitable than the solution. Think about all the big issues facing the UK demolition and construction sector: accidents and fatalities, an insurmountable skill shortage, a deepening mental health crisis, an ongoing gender and racial imbalance, and questionable working conditions. None of those factors and challenges are new. In fact, accidents and fatalities, the skills shortage, and sketchy working conditions have been a part of the industry furniture for as long as I or anyone else can remember. No one can claim a lack of awareness of any of these issues. They're discussed at length within companies, industries, and trade bodies up and down the country. Some of them are subject to regular campaigns and initiatives. Some even get their own dedicated day or week of recognition. But the problems underpinning those campaigns and initiatives remain, because tolerating those issues is considerably cheaper than actually addressing them. I know there will be a million and one other excuses offered to explain why the ever widening cracks in the industry remain. But follow the money or the lack of it, and it's clear to see that those with the power to make the necessary changes have no desire to do so. Without a financial imperative or a significant switch in legislation, they are quite content to plough the same furrow, even if that furrow is deeply flawed. Let's look at those flaws in isolation, starting with accidents and fatalities. Now, I am personally of the belief that accidents will happen and that we will never eradicate them entirely until we accept that men and women have no place working at heights, close to heavy machinery, below falling debris, in confined spaces, or with toxic materials. But while we may never prevent all accidents, we could prevent more of them. Sadly, to do so comes at a cost. It will mean devising new methodologies, which will take time and cost money. It will mean retraining staff in those new methods, but that too will cost time and money. It might mean investing in new equipment or protections. That will cost money. It will mean convincing clients to pay more for safer methods and to accept that work will be slower and more meticulous. Not all clients will be so easily convinced, so once again, there will be a cost. Of course, none of those would match the cost, financial and emotional, of an actual accident or fatality. But like those who continue to drive on our roads without motor insurance, many companies are willing to take the chance in the hope that it might not happen to them. The industry has a skills gap that widens with each passing year. But to plug that gap would require an expensive overhaul of the industry's entire recruitment and training regime. And that's why the industry points fingers of blame at the CITB for its failure to help reduce the skills shortage and then votes for it to continue every 3 years. If we really wanted to address the industry's mental health crisis, we wouldn't put up posters or appoint site personnel as makeshift mental health first aiders. We would change working practices that keep our men and women away from their homes and their support networks. We would offer greater job and financial security, and we would communicate with those workers more regularly and more openly. But the bean counters in the industry have apparently looked at all of that and decided among themselves that 500 plus sector suicides each year is a satisfactory price to pay for doing business. We could change the gender, racial, and sexual profile of the industry's workforce, bringing in fresh ideas, fresh perspectives, and generally setting the industry upon a new and more inclusive course. But in order to do so, we would need to make the sector more enlightened and more welcoming. That in turn would mean the removal of the sexist, racist, ageist, and homophobic elements that have plagued the industry for as long as anyone can remember. And yes, you guessed it, that too would come at a cost. And that doesn't even take into account all of those costly female only site toilets. So, in place of remedies, we offer words. Instead of making the necessary changes, we make promises that no one really intends to fulfill. Instead of action, we offer excuses. And it runs deeper than that. In fact, there are entire industries within this sector that exist purely because the wider industry refuses to make the necessary changes. We have external safety auditors in the place of safer systems of work. We have recruitment companies and agencies in the place of employment and job security. We have mental health awareness trainers rather than changes in working practices. This is why solutions are ignored. It's not that the fixes don't exist, it's that fixing the problems would cost money and stop the revenue streams that failure creates and sustains.